1,661 clues have come and gone, but 26 new ones are headed your way as part of this 62nd episode of Disney 100 Jeopardy. Welcome in. As always, I am your host, Bryan Perri, and thank you so much for joining me. Let's jump into the rules real quick. They're the same rules as always. If you want to be a cheater, go right ahead. I will not tell anyone, so be my guest. In last week's episode 61, the final Jeopardy category was April showers, where I showed you a clip from a Disney movie where it was raining and you simply had to identify what movie that was. I'm changing it up a little bit this week because I thought last week was too easy. So instead of showing you multiple clips, I'm just going to show you a screenshot from the scene where it is raining and you'll have to identify the movie based on that. That plus 4 brand new categories are headed your way, so let's see what they are. Once again, April showers kicks things off. The second category you'll be playing, you voted for it in the live version of this episode last Friday night. It is Avengers Endgame. 5 clues coming at you about the biggest box office movie of the last 14 years, since Avatar. The third category you'll be playing, Hamilton. That's right, it's all about the biggest Broadway show of the last probably 15 years, maybe even longer than that. What does it have to do with Disney? Well, Disney did make a deal to acquire the visual rights for Hamilton and put it on Disney Plus back during the pandemic. I feel like they did it, maybe it was July 4th, that sounds right, the pandemic. Anyway, 5 questions about my favorite Broadway show of all time. The fourth category you'll be playing, it's your Disney Parks category of the week, Space Mountain. This is all about the different forms of Space Mountain found throughout the globe. I figured I had to do a space category because of the eclipse this past week, and I realized I already did a space category back in episode 9. So this one is specifically all about Space Mountain. And the fifth and final category you'll be playing, DisneyMania. What is this all about? Well, WrestleMania just happened this past weekend, the big WWE event. And this is all about fights and brawls that have happened in Disney movies, so I named it DisneyMania. I'll read you a clue, and you have to identify who the 2 fighters or combatants are in that scene. Both of them, not one of them, both of them. All right, it is now time for the easiest round of the game, the cupcake round. Each of these clues are worth just 200 points each. Hopefully you go 5 for 5, bank 1,000 points under your belt, and start this game off on the right foot. Let's kick it off with April showers. There is your screenshot. It will not get easier than this. Name the film. Well, hopefully you recognize Pride Rock there. The correct answer is The Lion King. We move on to Avengers Endgame for 2. This Avenger killed Thanos less than 20 minutes into the film. Spoiler alert, yes, Thanos dies pretty much immediately when the film begins, but not really because he kind of comes back and all that stuff. But the correct answer here is Thor.
A liar is not one of them.
Thank you, daughter. Perhaps I treated you too harshly.
What?
What did you do? I went for the head.
Yeah, I edited out the slight portion where we have a decapitation because I thought it might have been a little gruesome for this family-friendly show. Let's move on now. Here comes your third clue of the game. This is the first one from Hamilton. The show's creator and original Hamilton. He's making a name for himself in the Disney community. The correct answer is Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Monsieur Hamilton!
Monsieur Lafayette!
In command where you belong!
Are you saying no sweat?
Let's go to space for the first time today. It's Space Mountain for 200 points. The only Space Mountain where you're seated in a single file. The correct answer is Walt Disney World Space Mountain, or the Magic Kingdom's Space Mountain, where, yeah, you have to kind of climb down in, similar to the Matterhorn, and that probably has to do with the fact that this Space Mountain was the first one to open back in 1975. All the other ones, you got someone next to you, unless the seat is empty. But this one, you definitely don't have anyone next to you because you are sitting in a single file. Okay, it's time for the final clue of the 200-point cupcake round. It's time for DisneyMania. This melee includes one fighter successfully shooting his opponent with an arrow, throwing him out of a window, and stabbing him in the back with a knife. Despite all that, that same character loses the fight and his life when he falls off the roof of a castle. This epic match saw the Beast battle Gaston at the end of Beauty and the Beast, and yes, Gaston did lose by plunging to his death via falling off a castle. That will do it for the cupcake round. Hopefully you're off to a scorching hot start and absolutely dominating this game. Let's boost the difficulty with the second round now. It's a 400-point round, and it begins with April showers. This scene might not be showering water, but it's showering fireworks or something. Either way, what movie is it from? We are going back to back with Beauty and the Beast answers. That is the correct answer to this second April showers clue. We move on to Endgame for the second time. While riding an elevator, Captain America uses this line to simply walk away from the antagonists rather than having to fight them. This was a great scene if you are an MCU fan. The correct answer, though, is Hail Hydra.
I can't give you the subject.
I'm gonna have to call the director.
That's okay. Trust me.
Hail Hydra.
Let's move on to Hamilton for 400 points. Talk less, smile more is a piece of advice given to Hamilton by this man. Who is Aaron Burr?
Talk less. What? Smile more.
We once again hop in a rocket for Space Mountain's second clue. The only Disney castle park to not feature a Space Mountain. What is Shanghai Disneyland? So when Shanghai opened, they determined that Tron, the brand new coaster at the time, was good enough for Tomorrowland. So that is the correct answer. Shanghai Disneyland does not have a Space Mountain. We move on to DisneyMania for 400. This tussle takes place in the trees, and one combatant attempts to use both a gun and machete to attack his opponent. It's to no success as he loses the fight when he plunges to the ground with a vine around his neck. Yep, Clayton had the machete and the rifle or shotgun or whatever it was ready to kill Tarzan, but he failed and then he died in probably the most gruesome death in Disney history. The correct answer is Tarzan and Clayton. Ten clues down as we make our way towards the halfway point of the game. It is time for another April shower. This one's worth 600 points. Ah, it's a frog in the rain. Name the movie. No, it is not Princess and the Frog, if that's what you guessed. It is from Lilo and Stitch. Avengers Endgame now for 600 points. Prior to a dramatic scene that sees a beloved member of the Avengers die, Black Widow and Hawkeye encounter this villain from an earlier Captain America film. Who is Red Skull?
Consider me a guide to you and to all who seek the Soul Stone.
Oh, good. You tell us where it is, then we'll be on our way.
Oh, Liebchen. If only it were that easy.
Let's hit the Richard Rodgers Theater and check out Hamilton for the third time. Jonathan Groff, the voice of Kristoff, played this character while starring in the show. Who is King George III?
John Adams. I know him.
We are back over to Space Mountain now for 600 points. This was the name of the Halloween overlay that ran inside the Hong Kong and Disneyland versions of the ride for over 6 years. What is Ghost Galaxy? That was terrifying. We move on to the final clue of the 600-point round. It is time for DisneyMania. These two characters land a number of punches while brawling at a gas station. They get so distracted with their fight that they get abandoned by their owners as their car drives off without them. Who are Woody and Buzz?
Okay, come on. You want a piece of me?
Man, Woody and Buzz absolutely hated each other for the majority of that original Toy Story film. We move on to the 800-point round now as things get pretty hard. It's April showers starting it off. This is definitely rain, as it is pouring in this movie. Can you name it? What is the sword in the stone?
Best room in the house.
It's time for Avengers Endgame for the 4th time. Not including post-credits, this was the last spoken line of the movie. We had a Captain America category a few weeks back, and yep, he is the one to utter the line. The correct answer is no, I don't think I will.
No, I don't think I will.
We move on to Hamilton for 800 points. The first names of the Schuyler sisters. What are... You know what? I'll just let them tell you.
Angelica, Eliza, and Peggy.
Seen here is a rendering of Space Mountain in 2027 at this Disney park. What is Tokyo Disneyland? That's right, the current version of Space Mountain out in Tokyo, which is, I believe, a carbon copy of the Disneyland version and the Hong Kong version, though it came before the Hong Kong version, so it's really just a copy of the Disneyland version, is closing this year. I think in July or June or something like that. It closes for 3 years, and they're building this. That looks awesome. I think it's being built from the ground up. It's not just like a refurbishment. So a brand new Space Mountain will join our world in just 3 years. Here comes the final clue of the 800-point round. It is time for DisneyMania. You know what's embarrassing? Losing a fight to a 1-year-old baby while you're flying and then dying because your attire gets caught in something. This match that was held high in the sky was between Syndrome and Jack Jack from The Incredibles. That's right, Jack Jack beats up Syndrome and then Syndrome dies in what could be argued is a more gruesome way than the way Clayton died in Tarzan. I don't know what's worse. Falling off a tree with the vine around your head or getting sucked into a jet turbine. That is flying. You're in the air and then you get sucked. I mean, that's why no capes. No capes. Either way, you know what time it is. It is now time for the most overly dramatic soundtrack-infused, unnecessarily spotlighted part of the game, the 1,000-point round. Hit it. Alright, this is where the money is made, and when I say that, disclaimer, you're not making any money because this game is just for fun and points. So, I will change that statement to, this is where the points are made. We begin with April showers for the 5th time. There's a bus in the rain. What movie is it from? The correct answer is The Rescuers. We move on to Avengers Endgame for the 5th time. While playing Fortnite, Korg handed his headset to Thor to talk trash to an online player with this username. It's okay, admit it. We all had pretty embarrassing usernames back in the day, or email addresses. I won't share what mine were, but I don't know if any of them were as bad as NoobMaster69.
Thor, he's back.
Noob Master.
Yeah, Noobmaster 69. Calling you Dickie.
Noob Master, hey, it's Thor again. You know, the God of Thunder? Listen, buddy, if you don't log off this game immediately, I'm gonna fly over to your house, come down to that basement you're hiding in, rip off your arms, and shove them up your butt!
It's time for our final clue from Hamilton. Singing Washington on Your Side, Burr is joined by these 2 former U.S. presidents. Who are Thomas Jefferson and James Madison?
It must be nice, it must be nice to have Washington on your side.
We are going to space one more time. Let's check out the clue. The original name of the space mountain located in Paris. I'm going to give you the English translation, this way I don't butcher the French version. I would not say it well, I'll let you know now. The correct answer is Space Mountain from Earth to the Moon. That's right, this Space Mountain, look at that artwork. Was so unique. Not only is it the only one that features inversions and a launch, but it was themed to Jules Verne back in the 1800s and was part of Discoveryland, not Tomorrowland, so it was less of a realistic trip to space and more of an artistic representation of what space looks like. Very cool. And then it died for Space Mountain Mission 2 in 2005, and then that died for the now permanent Hyperspace Mountain, which is running in Paris. We move on to the last clue on the board. It's DisneyMania for 1,000 points. A demigod battles a centaur in a river with a damsel in distress caught in the middle. This battle saw the one and only Hercules take on Nessus.
Come on, kid, concentrate! Use your head!
Not exactly what I had in mind, but
bad.
So there you have it, 25 clues from episode 62 are gone and one remains. And it happens to be the one clue of the game that's ultimately going to determine how proud of yourself you'll be this weekend and for the next 5 days after that. It is Final Jeopardy, so let's see what the category is. Stage and screen. All right, so a lot of your favorite Disney voiceover actors stemmed from Broadway, or at least appeared in a Broadway production before they appeared in a Disney movie, or at least you heard their voice in a Disney movie, I should say. I'll give you a clue about one of those performers, and you'll have to identify who they are. With that knowledge, make those wagers. Okay, time is up. It is time for the final clue of this episode 62, and it comes from Stage and Screen. This Tony Award winner began his Broadway career in a 1998 one-man show titled Freak. 23 years later, he voiced Bruno in Encanto. Good luck. Time is up. All right, what's pretty cool about this performer is he's actually from Colombia, which is where Encanto takes place. A lot of inspiration for the movie is from Colombia. And so is John Leguizamo.
You know, he's like rejected because he says what he really thinks, and he's had to pay the price, but he's selfless. He's a selfless man, and we all admire that. And I've been working on that my whole life to be that kind of guy. And you know, I'm in therapy, but I'm almost close to Bruno.
And that will do it for episode 62 of Disney 100 Jeopardy. If you like what you saw, be sure to subscribe and click that bell icon. Hello, bell. This way, you're notified every time we come out with brand new content. I will see you this Wednesday for the series finale of Universal Orlando's most missed attractions. I've counted down the top 5 for about a month now. Number 5 was Back to the Future. Number 4 was Earthquake. Number 3, Dueling Dragons. Number 2, Jaws. And number 1 will be revealed on Wednesday. Can you guess what it is? It's my most missed Universal Orlando attraction. It hasn't been there in 20 years, so be sure to check that out on Wednesday. If not, I'll see you Friday for episode 63 of Disney 100 Jeopardy, featuring the category of Stage and Screen. Until then.
Bye-bye.